Do you want to know just how bad Michael Masi's decisions have been? Or perhaps you have a vague idea but would like to confirm your suspicion. Do you think it is fair that Max Verstappen is still the world champion? Then you are in the right place. If you would like to know the answer to these questions, watch until the end of the video. Welcome to Formula One Zone. Michael Masi not only made a number of poor decisions during the Abu Dhabi race, each of which might and did have a direct impact on the championship, but he also disregarded precedents that he set. This wasn't a one-time blunder thrown into the post by an inexperienced race director after his mentor's untimely death. In today's video, we shall take a look at some of the poorly made decisions of Michael Masi. This will definitely offer more insight into the consequences of the decisions of Michael Masi. Firstly, it is essential to understand Michael Masi and the tragic circumstances that saw him take the directorship role. Masi joined the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile in 2018 as the Formula 2 and Formula 3 deputy race director, following a brief run as a deputy race director for the Australian V8 Supercar Series, where he was involved in another championship-deciding decision with a penalty against Shane van Gisbergen in the penultimate round. Longtime F1 race director Charlie Whiting, who had been in the post since 1997, invited him to work as a deputy race director in a few races. Whiting was considering Masi to take over as race director. Still, the die was cast when Whiting died unexpectedly on the eve of the 2019 Australian Grand Prix at 66 years old, forcing Masi into the post without warning. Now the guy in command of the world's most prestigious motorsports series was someone with only a year's expertise in the sport. All things considered, Masi performed admirably at that first race, earning him the invitation to continue in the race director job for the remainder of the season. But as we would later come to see, this was only the calm before the storm. It's not uncommon for the race director to receive criticism from one side or the other on a regular, daily basis. What's different about this season is that Masi has been attacked from all sides at the same time for his actions on several occasions. The question that has started to come up was whether Michael Masi is an unbiased director or is struggling in his role as a director. Masi's biggest criticism has been his uneven enforcement of track passing and track limitations. Lando Norris was penalized in Austria for driving Sergio Perez off the track at turn 4. Norris was on the inside with Perez, made it to the apex, and barely had two wheels on the exit curbing. However, Perez tried to stay on the outside, ran out of room, and ended up in the gravel trap. Norris was penalized 5 seconds and dropped to second place as a result. The only reason a penalty was warranted was that there was a gravel trap on the corner's exit rather than a concrete runoff, which would have allowed Perez to proceed unhindered. Later in the race, Perez repeated the same move on Ferrari's Charles Leclerc that Norris had made earlier in the race, with the same consequence of Leclerc ending up in the gravel. Perez received no punishment at the time. We all watched, not believing that Masi did not follow his own precedent. Now fast forward to Brazil, where Verstappen's extreme late braking, no way in hell am I making this corner, dive bomb on Hamilton sent both of them many cars lengths off track and onto the paved runoff. Although this was significantly more heinous than Norris's attack on Perez in Austria, Race Control's answer was, let them race. If Masi's message to the drivers is that he wants them to race, then Hamilton's move was perfectly legal and not deserving of punishment. The only difference between the two moves was that Hamilton in Brazil backed out of attempting to turn the corner. Verstappen, on the other hand, did not perform well in England. If you stand there and get stuck, I'll give the other player a penalty, Masi seems to be saying, but if you move out of the way, he'll score, and I won't say anything. The only difficulty is that we're dealing with multi-million-dollar, 200-mile-per-hour missiles with actual live humans at the controls. It may be argued, and has been, that a 10-second penalty for Hamilton that had no bearing on the race's conclusion wasn't much of a penalty. Masi responded by saying that the outcome of an incident does not factor into the severity of a penalty. However, this is certainly not the case. Norris's altercation with Perez in Austria should have gone unpunished if that was the case. Masi's unreliability becomes apparent at this point. Masi's on-track decisions weren't the only ones to be questioned this year. One of the more strange decisions that we saw Michael Masi make in F1 was the decision to run 2 laps at Spa in the torrential rain beneath the safety car and term it a race. With the weather deteriorating, there was no way the race should have been started. He even allowed Perez to return to the race after crashing on the formation lap on his way to the grid. Only a half lap into the race, Verstappen dove down into the inside of Hamilton at turn 6, giving the race director an unfavorable start. Hamilton left the door wide open at first, but then chose to stay on the outside of Verstappen's late braking. Assuming that Verstappen would, well, be Verstappen and drive him off the track, Hamilton took the cutoff and rejoined the race still in front. Except for Verstappen, much to everyone's surprise, they stayed on the racetrack, managing to maintain 2 wheels on the track. At that point, the corner should have been Verstappen's, and Hamilton should have been forced to relinquish the lead. What was your reaction to this series of bad decisions? With only a few laps to go, Nicholas Latifi of Williams skidded and collided with the wall while dueling Mick Schumacher, bringing out the safety car and bundling up the field, including Hamilton, who had gone away to a comfortable lead. The race had appeared to be a foregone conclusion up until that time, with Hamilton earning the win and the title. According to Masi, only the cars between Hamilton and Verstappen were allowed to unlap themselves. In addition, he resumed racing at the end of the penultimate lap, which was against the rules. The safety car should have stayed on the track until the next lap, bringing the race to a halt under yellow. Verstappen, now on a new set of soft tires, was able to close the gap on Hamilton by breaking both of these restrictions. The outcome was unavoidable, with Hamilton on worn-out hard tires. Verstappen won the race and the title, bypassing him in less than a half lap. Perhaps Hamilton will be a bit pacified after what happened to Michael Masi after the year was reviewed. After the Abu Dhabi disaster race was reviewed, the decision was made to remove Michael Masi as F1 director. On Thursday, FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem announced a series of structural changes as a part of a step forward for Formula One refereeing, one of which is that former DTM race director Niels Wittich and WEC race director Eduardo Freitas will alternate as F1 race directors. Though Michael Masi has been offered another role within the Fédération Internationale del Automobile, other than its role that has to do with safety, not very much is known about the former director's new position of Formula One that has been assigned, the newly appointed director. Due to technological concerns, the radio communication between the teams and race control will no longer be aired, and the unlapping procedure under a safety car will be examined. So at least something good came out of the consequence of Masi's decisions. At least we can expect Niels Wittich and Eduardo Freitas to do a decent job in the position. Your guess is as good as ours, but at least we can all hope. That's it for today's video. What do you think about the decisions of the former director? Do you think Michael Masi deserved another chance as the director of Formula One? Then let us know what you think in the comments section, and don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to this channel to get more videos and click the bell button to enable notifications.